Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Afrobeat Live. Today we have a very, very special show. If you're following us on social media, you know we have the Marriage Series. This is part of our lifestyle series. We're talking about things to help people with their lifestyle. And today we focused on marriage. And particularly we're talking about marriage and money. Before we go any further, let me introduce you to my lovely co-host for the night, Miss Fadeke Ashiru-Balogun.
What's up, everybody? Glad to be back.
How you doing?
I'm good. How have you been?
I'm good. How are you dealing with this weather that just go up and down?
I know, right? I wish it would just be straight and just make up its mind already. One day it's nice, next minute is like cold. I'm like, what's up with the weather? But we're hanging in there.
That's good. That's good. That's good. So tonight we brought in two special guests.
Yes.
For tonight's show.
Yes.
Very, very, very big. I'm excited about these two people we have in the studio tonight.
Absolutely.
Let me introduce the lady right in front of me.
Yes.
Some of you guys may know her. If you follow us, you follow her on social media, you might know her. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Miss Seun Obajolu.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
Welcome.
It's your girl, Seun Obajolu.
Welcome.
Yes, for those that don't know, let me introduce you to her. Miss Seun Obajolu is a motivational speaker. She's a radio on-air personality, a talk show host. And she's also been married for how many years?
16.
16 years.
Long time.
Right? Alongside with her today, we have a very, very special guest. He's an author, a motivational speaker. This man, I met him, he's always talking about marriage, he's always trying to help people. And when we started Afrobeat Live, I've been looking forward to bring him on board to help our listeners, our audience. He has his own listeners, he has his own audience, but we wanted to bring him to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me and welcome Mr. GFEM.
What's up? Welcome.
That's right.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's your boy GGG.
Yes, sir.
Right here, Afrobeat Live.
Welcome. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great.
How you guys doing today?
Doing well. It's great to be here.
Thank you. It's nice having you guys in the middle of the week, but you guys are doing great things.
Yes.
So since both of you are doing great things, we wanted to bring you guys on board to help our people, our listeners, and our audience.
Yes.
Miss Fadeke, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Since we're talking about marriage and money, if you look around the table, we may look young, but combined, they were joking earlier. We have 56 years of marriage when you combine.
Really good.
Wow.
If
And we have about, what, 12 kids combined?
You're responsible for one. How many?
Well, I got two.
I got two children.
Why are you putting us down?
It's about the money.
You know, speaking of marriage, speaking of kids, speaking of everything, we all know the world revolves around money, you know, and money is a very key to life. You know, Pastor used to say money is a defense. And when you have a single person married to another single person, there's got to be financial. Some people call marriage a marriage of convenience, a marriage of business, or anything like that. So that's why we wanted to talk about it, bring our 56 years of combined marriage and how we deal with money. You know, so Ms. Fadeke, how are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in here. I'm ready to learn from the experts to see what they have to tell us.
We are still learning.
I think it's a daily thing. You know, you learn different methods work for different people. So, but I'm sure whatever we're going to be sharing tonight will be beneficial to a couple of people out there.
Right.
So I'm excited.
Great.
So I guess we should just go right into it. I'll go with you first. So what advice do you have for newlyweds, I guess? Yeah.
When it comes to finances.
When it comes to finances, yeah.
Well, let's look at it this way. Every family has their own dynamics and different ways they want to address things because we have different upbringing, different exposure to life, so we see things in a different way.
Absolutely.
So my advice can be customized to everyone's situation. But in a nutshell, I would say that when it comes to finances in a relationship, you should let the person who is financially savvy handle the money part. Okay? It could be the woman, it could be the man. But you've seen in a African society, relationship wise, that the men struggle with the finances. Not that they don't know how to balance the sheet, but it's not their forte. So, because you look at business or organizations, when you have the people who are handling the money, typically they are the women, okay, because they have that wiring. So, in the African home, I would say that it's advisable that if the woman knows how to handle the money, let her handle the money. Don't try to struggle with her about handling the money. As a man, you're the head of the home, okay? So you got to have that understanding. And because you are the head of the home, doesn't mean that you have to have your hands in everything. There has to be division of labor. Absolutely. So let the woman does what she can do. You do what you can do as well. So, and then put all the resources together and see how you guys can better manage and plan for bills and expenses that you got to pay for.
So when you say pour the resources together, are you saying that they should have a joint account where everybody's income comes into that account? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, so let's look at it in a different way, right? In a family, right, you can have husband and wife, depending on how much they're making, depending on their expenses, that they might say it makes sense for us to pull all the money in one account. Whereas in other families, say, no, it doesn't really make sense. How about we share the responsibility or we split the responsibility? Maybe depending on how much you are making, you can handle the mortgage. You can handle BJ bills, electricity, water bills, X, Y, and Z. And then at the end of the day, they might say, okay, how much change is left? Then let's put this in a joint account for our savings. Either the money might be used for taking care of the children, for travel, for miscellaneous, those type of things. But so it depends on the family dynamic, but there won't be like one size fit all because your situation would dictate, how you should handle the financial part.
So nobody should be hiding any money on the side. You know how some
absolutely.
women will be like, hey, it's my money, I need that pocket money for that next bag that they've been eyeing or something.
Yeah.
So
It should be open.
yeah. So here's my question for you. So out of everybody here, you've been married the longest. Now, how have you and your husband dealt with managing money from the first year of marriage all the way to this year? What advice can you give people, because now you've had 16 years to practice managing money with somebody else?
Yeah.
So what advice would you can you give us?
Right, like GFEM has rightly said, every family dynamic is different. Some people like to have the joint account. Some people like to have the individual accounts. For me, we've had the individual accounts. And mostly because my husband is of the school of thought that the man should take care of the financial responsibilities and the wife should be the helpmate. That's his school of thought. So we've had everybody handles their money and I chip in when I can. So he takes.
That's not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. Most women will like that. Trust me. But listen, this is where I come. There's been times where I've had to step in, because of course, and that's where being married and understanding each other and not hiding anything from each other works. Because he comes to me and lets me know, babe, I can't get that this month, and I'll be like, okay, sure, I got you. So yeah.
So real quick, for you guys that are watching us on Facebook Live, you can call in. You can reach us at 202-681-0389. That's 202-681-0389. If you have questions for GFEM, you have questions for Ms. Obajolu, or anybody else. So if you're watching us on Facebook Live, feel free to send questions. We have people in the back of the studio that's going to read the questions. I can also see from here. So here's my thing about marriage and money. I've been married for 12 years now, and the idea I kind of got from, we took a premarital class before we got married. Actually, that's where we met. We went just to go to the same church, and what I learned, or the outcome of that, was yes, the man handles the lion's share of the responsibility of the house financially, if you can. But like you said, that you're gonna have some things that are short. So my idea is to have a joint account
Okay.
and also have our own personal accounts.
Yep.
So both our paychecks come to the joint account. So we take care of bill, we take care of responsibility first. And then, of course, I have other things that I do, real estate, Afrobeat Live, other
Right.
things that brings extra money. And that's like what I call play money. Also, my wife also owns an accounting firm. She does small accounting here and there for people. So in that way, she can make extra money. So whatever way she wants to spend that, that's fine. So and the reason why I picked that idea is because I've been around people, family, uncles, aunties that, the husband is broke, he's struggling, he's going through a hard time, and the wife has money, and the wife is like, I'm not sharing. Or the husband has a lot of money, and it's like, $100 to do your hair? Oh no, that's too much. You know what I mean? So it is too much. So my idea was like, okay, if I'm broke, you're broke. If you have money, I have money. If I have money, you got money. So that was my idea. So Ms. Balogun, what's your suggestion?
It's kind of similar to yours, but the only difference is that rather than all the paycheck going to the joint account, it goes into everybody's account, and then we have a certain amount that we deposit into the joint account, which is where we therefore pay all our bills from. That's how we do.
Okay. So with that being said, now, like I said, you've been married the longest. As responsibility comes along, kids, cars, vacation. Because when you first get married, maybe you have one kid, maybe no kids, you have a couple years, and those kind of how do you share that responsibility and continue to manage the money? And that's to either one of you.
Yeah, it's a tough one, to manage your finances when you have responsibility. So you're not just looking at your partner alone. You're looking at your children, their school fees, their food on the table, clothes that they got to buy, diapers. I mean, you have enormous amount of responsibilities. So when it comes to that aspect, it's ideal to have enough children that you can manage. Okay, you see,
What's enough?
Well, that's relative.
Right.
That's relative, and it also depends on your pocket, how big your pocket is. People when we say, in this generation, people are having 2 kids, 3 kids, some 4, 5, 6 kids, and some want to emulate what their friends are doing, because my friends are having 3, 4. I want to have 4. It's becoming a competition type of thing, and some want to go as way back as what our parents did, 6, but.
In this day and age.
Yeah, we are living in a different dispensation, so we can't really. It's not like comparing apples to apples anymore. So the situation of today might dictate, and depending on your pocket, that you can only handle 2 children, you can only handle 3 children, and also depends on how much you are making every year. You maybe every 2 years or every 6 months, you might get a new job, you might get a pay raise, change your field, so you might make more money, and then at that point you might say, all right, it's time for us to have another child. Okay. But I would say this: it's advisable that the couples should have a talk before they get married. That how many children are we going to have, and to agree on that. And if there has to be a change, then let's agree together that we need more.
What do you think?
Right, he kind of touched on the last part. There's something I really want us to talk about here, and that is actually talking about finances. You see, when 2 people meet, everything is all rosy. We're talking about, proposals, talking about the wedding. You want to go all out. You want to you have the best, biggest wedding ever. But one thing that that is extremely important to talk about is finances, even as you are dating. Okay, and once you do that, when you do that, you want to talk about your debts. You want to talk about, don't be shy. Yeah, you have bad credit. For those of us in America, yes, bring it all to the table. What are your career goals for the future? That way, when you have those things in place, then things like the amount of kids you want to have, I'm not sure I can really say much about that. When I wanted to get married, I wanted to have a boy and a girl. Hey, it's 4 girls after, because I kept trying for a boy that didn't come. Right, but now we're at the point where we're like, no, 4 is about good enough. Maybe when you make more money and I don't have to work in the future, I can have more. So it's very, very important, if you're listening, talk about it. You want to know the mindset of the man you're marrying. You want to know the mindset of the woman you're marrying. It's very important. Is she going to be a woman who doesn't want to work? Is he going to be a man who wants you to put 50-50 on the table every time? Let me know. Not. Yeah.
Okay, so I like what you said about, the whole kids thing. So, when we are kids, we plan our life out. I want to marry the king, or I want to marry the queen.
Right.
I want to have 2 boys, 2 girls, and all this thing. But things happen, Right. Okay, so you talk, you have the conversation, like you said, and then, we agree. For us, we agree. I think we all agree on 3 kids, but and now we have 2, and so those kind of situation where you agree on 2 kids, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's a 3rd child.
By mistake.
It's a 4th child. Well, I don't believe there's a mistake when it comes to kids, So when it happens like that, how do you change?
Well, you have to adapt. You have to adapt because you may get mad about the situation. Unfortunately, we have. I don't want to say the wrong thing about women. Fortunately, you may have some women that...
You better be careful about that.
I know, right?
That's why we brought a male and female expert.
So, unfortunately, after the agreement, maybe the woman might want more kids. And you've already agreed with her that we're only sticking to 2.
Okay.
So, somehow, she allows it to happen, that the 3rd child comes in. So, but at that point, as a man, you may get mad that, okay, you're not being reasonable here. We've already talked about this. You just did your own thing your own way. You're just being selfish. But as a man, you still got to adapt because you are married. So you can't say I'm going to divorce or I'm going to separate based on that. So you adapt and you look for how the money is going to come in to finance the bills. So it's as simple as that.
So speaking of that debt, right? Things happen. For example, we have parents, we have uncles and aunties, there's death in the family, and when it comes with unexpected expenses, also emotional attachment and emotional things to deal with. When those kind of, so let's say for example, there's a death in the family, a spouse believes in not borrowing money, and one is like, oh, this is your family issue, and those kind of things. How does one adjust to those kind of situations where, let's say for example, the female spouse lost their father or something like that, right, and she comes from a family where they're well connected and they have a lot of money, but unfortunately the funds are not there, and she said, listen, I need to go borrow 10,000 to bury my father. And the husband is like, over my dead body, 10,000 for what? How does one handle those kind of delicate situations?
Man, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I'll let her win.
Yeah, let her take that one.
Again, I'm hoping that you all are on the same page when it comes to some things. When it comes to money matters, men are a little bit more prudent when it comes to spending. And if you want to do a thing like that, like there's a death in the family, you want to go borrow money and your husband says no, but you guys have to be able to put everything on the table and talk about it. I believe in communication. It's very important. And you have to be able to find a middle ground.
Not to cut you off, but what about a situation where how African men feel like, oh, they're the head of the household. They don't necessarily need your opinion,
or your
or about whatever decision they're going to make. What about a situation where the guy just decides that, okay, something came up and I had to do it? What do you do in that situation?
Well, yeah, and that's where I think Mr. Taiye's and your style of managing your finances works. You have a joint account, and everybody has their individual accounts. If he's going to go into the joint account, I think it's only right for you to consult your wife. If you don't, I have a right to be upset. And if that happens, you're going to find that there's going to be a lot of competition. And then you're going to be like, oh, okay, you took 2,000, then I'm going to take 1,000. This is a fact. I know a couple that goes through that. because the wife doesn't like to spend money, but husband likes to buy shoes and all of that stuff, to the point where he hides stuff in the car.
The husband?
Yeah.
Usually it's like the women doing that.
Right.
Well, it happens. It
you
happens.
serious?
Right. So to answer your question, basically, is just find a middle ground. Maybe you don't have to borrow up to $10,000. Maybe
Okay.
you can.
So,
Let me just add to that.
Yes, please go ahead. I don't want to shift the topic.
It's important to have that dialogue, right? At the same time, based on emotional tie, it is your responsibility as an individual to take care of your parents. It's not really the responsibility of your partner to take care of your parents, because your partner or your parents didn't bring or didn't raise your partner. So it is your responsibility. So you have to do all it takes to make sure that your parents are okay, right? But before taking that extreme measure, you still gotta come and talk to your husband about it, okay? And trying to get your husband to understand. So sometimes I feel like the problem that we have in a relationship is communication. So you gotta find a way to talk to the man or ask the man how we can better support my parents or my mom or my dad who passed away. They need this money. There's nobody else in the family that can come up with this money. We, as a family, we don't have $10,000 in cash. The only way we can do this is to borrow the money from the bank. So the next conversation is, a reasonable man will be like, how do we pay this money back?
That's the plan.
So what's the plan for that? So I think, understanding that it is your responsibility as an individual to take care of your parents. But before taking that drastic measure, have a conversation with your partner. Try to get him to be on the same page, and then draw a plan. If you guys decide to take money from the bank, how you guys gonna pay that money back?
So, so not to change topic or change gear. So this is a question. Actually, I was talking to a coworker today. I'm like, I'm having this show about marriage and stuff like that. And like, I said, is it about marriage and money? And I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna watch. And it's actually twinning. He just text me. So his thing was, his wife is a shopaholic. And he thinks that she spends
90% of women.
unbelievable amount of money on on shopping. So we had a conversation. I said, well, listen, I'm a man. I spend most of my money on sports. I used to not care about clothing, but the older I get, the more money I spend on clothing and less on sports. But yeah, my wife loves shopping. That's her own thing, and that's why I say, okay, I don't need to see, because in the joint account, I don't need to look at my account and see $400 for a bag or a shoe. At the same time, she sits in my account and see, $150 for some new soccer shoes or something like that. At the age of 40, it's like, what are you doing? You're too old for this. I'm going out to the Redskins game or the DC United game. I'm spending $60 on drinks. It's like, those kind of things will upset us. So my suggestion to him was, listen, it's good to have a separate account, because I understand you guys want to see what each other is doing, but at the same time you need that peace of mind, because we all have our own hobbies, we all have our own thing, and we should. It's healthy. I think it's healthy for husband and wife to have separate hobbies and things that they do. So that was my advice to him. So for somebody like that, what would be your advice? And he's watching.
So they have a joint account right now?
They have a joint account, and he thinks his wife spent too much money on clothes and shopping and stuff like that. I didn't ask what he spent his money on.
Right. You kind of gave him the best advice. I think it's time that they start to have their own accounts, individual accounts, and have a joint account. But the woman still has to be able to understand that this is a teamwork. And it's not every time. You see, we talk about women loving shopping. We all love shopping. Yeah. But once you realize that your family is priority, once you respect your marriage and you respect the fact that you guys, I had so many things to talk about. Goals. If you had goals that you're working towards. Why would a $400 bag matter when you haven't worked towards your goals? At the same time, you have to balance it and make sure you're not depriving each other. Because sometimes women, we have that point where, you know what, I just want to spend.
Exactly.
When I'm upset, I want to go spend money. Gosh, my baby's listening. it makes me feel better.
So every time you got you man, you gotta go shopping.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Sorry, don't get her mad.
It's my therapy. So if she's listening or he's listening, I think you guys need to have that conversation. And this is why money breaks marriages.
And I think just to add to that, I think what can also help is, maybe every month he can maybe give her an allowance, maybe $200, whatever he can afford. He can give it to her like, this is your shopping money.
They both work.
Okay, I mean, they have a joint account right now,
Yeah.
okay? So all that money, after all the bills has been paid,
Right.
whatever is left, he can give her, maybe $200 or $300 and say, look, this money, use it to shop. But everything else that's left in the account, let's leave it in there for unexpected bills
You
or
know
whatever.
why? You know why that is dicey, Fadeke? You're saying giving it to her. I probably would not like that. Maybe they can come up with, after all the bills are paid, like you said, whatever is left, we can both have such and such amount.
That's what I'm alluding to.
Okay.
I just didn't mention his part. I'm
Okay.
just saying, since she likes to shop and the problem is with her, just give her something. Whatever you do with your portion of whatever we're sharing is up to you. I'll do whatever I want with mine, but this is what's left in
Absolutely.
the account.
Mr. GFEM,
maybe he
what
could
do
do
you
it
think?
that way.
So I think all the options are explorable. You can look at joint accounts and look at your plan together and prioritize.
Right.
What are we paying this month?
Exactly.
We've taken care of all the major bills. We don't have any other expenses. Maybe $500 is what is left. So what is the budget for you to spend on whatever you want to spend the money on? Or what are your expenses this year that is just separate from the major expenses? And then you split the money that way. That can work if they are both still looking at having a joint account. So just make sure you prioritize, make sure you take care of the major bills, and whatever money is left, then you can share it equally or 60-40 or whichever way that you guys can agree on and meet in the middle. But the second option is looking at separate accounts, right? I believe people should have financial freedom. And
Absolutely.
women should be able to have their own account. The man should have his own account. Whatever money is left is your money. You work hard for the money. Go and spend the money. As long as it's not impacting the bills of the family.
Very important.
You go do whatever you want to do. You want to enjoy life, enjoy life. So I see it as making sure that everyone is okay, because I don't want you to be calling me and say, oh, I'm at the mall. I just saw a friend of mine. Maybe she needs $20 or $50 to pay something off. And you have to call me to get an excuse because we have a joint account. They say, oh, $50 is coming off from
Well,
this.
some men want that though. It's
Right,
part
some men
of,
do.
Controlling, or to me it's controlling, but to them it's just that they want to feel like they're on top of everything. It's part of being the head of the household or whatever, but some men like that.
My goodness, it could be very frustrating.
It is, yeah.
I had a point where I had my husband's credit cards, and my husband is very, very on point with his account, credit cards and everything. And he's that kind of person. Once you're shopping, once I charge the
Swipe it.
card, he's calling like, babe, what are you doing? Very, very selfish.
Are you upset again?
What did I do? Exactly.
It'd be like shit because I said that's what I want. Sorry.
This money thing, it's very, very important. And I'm really glad you guys brought this up because, even talking about America, there are a lot of things going on. There's some families, and I like to use my life as an example. There's some families where, like my husband, he believes in investing in Nigeria. I hate it.
That's the thing. Business.
Right. I don't know if you were going there. I don't like it. Not because I don't like business, but I just feel like, well, we've tried before. At one point, I think we lost like 8 million naira first try. And that just was like, I was done. And then, of course, like I joke around, I don't like him going to Nigeria for 4 months at a time. what are all the other things that come with that? You know, I don't want to take risks in my marriage. So when it comes to business, you know, it's happening in families in America, and people cannot get over that.
Right.
Like, so that's where it's important, and we cannot stress it enough. Talk about these goals before marriage.
I was
And-
actually sorry. Go ahead.
It's a tough one,
Yeah.
right? It's a tough one, and also looking at you getting married, and maybe you guys had a discussion before you get married and ask, okay, what's going to be your occupation, right? And the guy said, oh, I'm going to be an investor. I'm going to primarily be in America, doing great things, and then the money is not flowing very well.
Okay.
And then he sees an opportunity in Nigeria, and it's like, okay, babe, you know. Yeah, it is an opportunity to make more money to support the family. I'm just gonna be gone for then 3 weeks turns to a month, turns to 2 months, 6 months, 1 year. So that creates a problem in the family because the men are hungry. You know, they want money. And they want to support their family. And when they have money, that's when they feel like I'm alive. That's when they feel like I'm a man, you know, I'm in charge. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But it is hard for the woman to really understand that, right? Because the woman needs not just your money, but it needs your emotional
Okay.
support as well.
That communication.
The communication, you got to be present. And you know, out of mind is out of sight is out of mind, or the way they say it. You know, and that can open door for other things that, you know, could have been prevented. So it's a major.
So what is enough? If you just gave an example of a situation where maybe the guy decides that he wants to go to Nigeria to invest, and then 2 weeks becomes a year. If this so-called business is not working out, but for whatever reason, maybe his ego, you know, whatever, because the wife had been nagging him, you need to stop. And he's like, no, it's going to work. Just one more, you know, just give me, if I do it this way, this time around, I can guarantee you it will work. When is enough?
It's, when it comes to business, when it comes to your passion, there's nothing that says enough is enough. Okay. As long as that's your passion. It's like someone telling me that, you know, I'm a relationship coach and I'm spending thousands of dollars on making sure I'm a better coach. I'm spending money on advertisements, and my wife is telling me enough is enough because I'm not getting the result, or she's not getting the result that she wants. It's going to be baffling to me because I'm looking at it like, are you supporting my dreams or you're not supporting my dreams?
Yeah, but if you're losing money, you're spending
Or not
money,
making
or not
any
making
money.
any
Making money.
there
Or
has
there's
to
not
be,
enough
there has
money.
to, there
Right.
has to be a point where enough is enough.
Right. So this is my advice to people. And I know a lot of people that have taken these steps. As a matter of fact, that they're doing okay in America, and they probably heard about an opportunity in Nigeria, and they say, all right, I'm gone. I'm going to Nigeria. I'm going to put this amount of money there, and things are not working out to the point that this guy cannot afford the mortgage here in America for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months.
So what happens? When is enough?
And I think
So you got to be.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The man has to have a better plan. Okay. You see, sometimes you want to get, for an example, let me use myself as an example. I want to transition from my job, 9 to 5, to my business of relationship.
Yes.
My relationship business is not making me money.
Oh.
Right?
Yes.
So it will not make sense for me to say I'm going to leave that job, because if I leave that job, what's going to happen to my family? Is I don't want my family to be kicked out of the house. You know, they have a certain lifestyle that they are used to. You know, so I'm not going to compromise that because of my dreams or my ambition. So you have to find a way to balance both. That okay, I got to take care of the family. The family matters. They need the money. And one way or the other, maybe a little bit of money left from taking care of your family, then you can push it on to the business as well.
I think it comes to balance, really, and priority.
Right.
I think the whole thing is priority. For example, you know, I'll use myself as an example, like, you know, just like you just did in, I think it was 2009. I went to Nigeria and said, hey, there's an opportunity for me to expand my real estate business in Nigeria.
Right.
And I did it. And the first time I went, I think it was like almost 3 months. I came back, and when I went back again, I was like, man, this is not going to work. It's not worth it. I'm losing money. I had to kind of refocus and say, you know what?
And that's a rare case, because not all African men will say, oh,
Right.
this is not going to work out, let me go back. Most of them will be like, no, if I just do it a different way, you know, it will work. And that's,
Or
what
they
I'm
come
trying
back,
to figure
or
out.
they come back with an attitude.
Yeah, so that's the
First
situation.
month.
That's what I'm trying to figure out
And,
for
that,
those
and that's why I
that
say
are
it becomes priority, because at that point I'm like, okay, my family is more important. Luckily, I was fortunate enough that I didn't move my own family, because I have friends that moved their whole family to
Yeah.
Nigeria, and then they find out almost a year later that this is not
Not
what they.
working.
Now
Then
we
they have to move back again.
Right.
and start all over again.
Yeah.
So I guess I was one of the few that was like, you guys stay. Let me go.
ease into it.
Let me go try the water and see. And I got there, it wasn't comfortable,
Yeah.
and come back. So I mean, with that being said, now let's shift the conversation to young couples,
Right.
people looking to get married. So when young ladies are dating and they're bringing boyfriends home and stuff like that. I remember when I was dating my wife, and the first question from our parents was like, "What do you do?" Before they even asked, "Who's your father?" It's like, what do you do? Okay, I'm a student. Okay, good. What do you study? And I walk, I have a
Is it
full-time job.
agriculture?
Doctor. So I guess, for them, full-time student, full-time guy, part-time soldier, he was okay with them. I guess the long-term goal. But you have a situation where you have a family member, and they're dating a loser. Let's say you have a nephew, 24, 26 years old, they're dating a loser. And this guy's up to no good. He has no future. How do you handle that?
Don't marry him. Don't.
Yeah, but it's tough when you're talking to maybe your daughter. It's tough when they feel like they're in love. Mommy, I love him. He's the best thing, blah, blah, blah. What do you do so you don't lose that relationship with your daughter, just because you're trying to save her from this potential loser?
And I told my Facebook crowd that I had a surprise for them, and this is where I was coming to. I'm very big on women having their own income. No two way about it. You have to have your income as a woman. I don't care what you say. Stay at home mom, do something online that will give you money. Okay? But when it's time to pick a husband, please do not marry a loser. One, I'm sorry, man. I'm so sorry. Don't marry somebody that has no ambition. Do not marry a man that tells you, baby, we're going to be praying. What are you praying for? Don't marry a man who wants to chase. I'm sorry. Marry a man that knows something about financial security. Marry a man that whatever, even he might not make that money then, but sit him down and ask him, what are your goals? And please don't let it be, I'm chasing a movie. I want to record a movie. No, that's nothing. That's not what we're talking about. Because you can chase producing a movie for 20 years and it will never work out. And you will be the breadwinner and you'll be tired and you'll walk out your marriage.
Frustrated.
Yes.
So from a man's perspective,
well, it's looking at what is practical and what makes sense to do. You're talking about chasing a movie. That might be his passion, right? It's my advice is you got to pursue your passion, right? But you still have to look at how long it's going to take me to how long it's going to take for this passion to become something that will fetch me money that I'll be able to take care of my family. If it's taking years and years and you're about to start, being married and start having children, then you got to look at something else that can bring in the money so that you can take care of the family while you can pursue your passion on the side.
Okay.
So that's the way it's supposed to work. Okay. But when we define loser, you can be it might be a bit relative, but when you define loser, you can be a loser today, but doesn't mean you're going to be a loser tomorrow.
Forever.
Right. So everyone
a loser can never have a winning mentality.
Something can change.
So I have to know your definition.
That's where the loser comes from.
So, but I have to know the definition of a loser. That's why I say loser. You have your own definition, and it can be relative. Right. So how do you see a loser? What's your definition of a loser? Are you talking about a man that has no job today? And he has no job today because of what reasons?
No.
I don't think that's what she means by a loser.
Let's go back, right, to when you were dating your wife.
Right.
Obviously, you met the family at some point. Right. She introduced you to her family at that point. So at that young age, you have a niece or nephew, 22, 23, 24, and is dating somebody that you or your wife now thinks that, man, that guy's up to no good. It looks like he's a loser. He has no future. What advice would you give your niece at that point?
I have to be careful about it because I agree with what she said, right? But I like to be analytical, right? When it comes to stuff like this. When you have a 22-year-old, let's think about it. A 22-year-old boy, what does he know? On a typical day, a 22-year-old boy doesn't know too much. I remember when I was 22, by God's grace, I knew a lot more than my colleagues, right? But let's look at it. At 22, I was still in college. 22, I was still chasing women around.
But it's not everybody's in college at 22. Some people are college dropout.
Right, so
High school dropout.
That's what I'm saying, that you have to give some kind of example, or what's your definition of loser?
Okay,
what is the situation of that person?
Okay,
so if I'm advising somebody, and they come to me and say, "Oh, I have a loser boyfriend," I'm like, "What do you mean?"
Okay, let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario. Okay, your niece is 22.
Right.
The guy that she's dating is 24. Okay. Let's raise the age a little bit. He's a high school dropout. He works at 24 years old. He's working at Walmart, pushing carts.
Right.
But he loves to dress fly because he still lives in his mama's house.
Right.
And he spent all his money on clothes. So he's got the fresh cut. It's looking good. He spent all his money to buy a nice Honda Accord, and it's got nice rims.
Right.
So it's flashy.
Right.
But when you ask your niece, what does it do? Yeah, he push carts at Walmart. And I'm not disrespecting anybody that push carts at Walmart. Please, guys, forgive me. I'm just giving a scenario.
Right.
And this is your niece. And she said, this is the guy I want to marry. I'm in love. Uncle Fam, I'm in love.
Yeah.
What do you say to her? I just painted you a good scenario.
Okay. So one,
Shine your eye.
at that age,
Yes.
let's look at it. At that age, a woman falling in love sometimes is based on what she sees, the
Of
flashy
course.
things, the rims and all that stuff. So she wants to be in a relationship. So she doesn't even understand what love is right there. So, but
Hold that thought. We have a caller.
sure.
Welcome to Afrobeat Live. Who's calling, please?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you. This is Bukola Edmondson Day. How are you guys doing today?
We're good. We have Mr. GFEM and Miss Seun in the house. You have a question for them?
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm great.
Hello, Mr. GFEM.
Hello, ma'am. How you doing this evening?
Good. Fadeke, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
So do you have a question for us, or you have an advice?
Great.
Your phone is breaking. Are you going to the basement?
Your phone is breaking up.
Oh, Miss Brookie. Yeah, I hear you now. Yes.
Oh boy.
Okay, sounds better.
I just wanted to make a suggestion. Part when it comes to going back to school.
All right, don't move. Wherever you were before, go back there.
Can you just maybe
Go ahead.
text?
No.
It's still breaking up.
Just help. Put it in writing.
Can you send
All right,
Miss Buki? Can you send us a message on Facebook with your question?
Miss Brookie, your phone is breaking. I'm sorry.
Your phone is breaking up. Sorry. No,
It's
can you
breaking.
send us a message on Facebook?
It's breaking. Just send us a message.
So can you go back to
I'm
where
sorry,
you
go
were?
back.
So this is me giving advice,
Yes.
having a client and coaching them. So I have to understand.
Your niece.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Not a client now. Your family
Your
member.
niece.
My niece. It has nothing to do with the ties. Trust me. When I'm giving relationship advice, I'm giving it, and I'm straightforward.
Yes, sir.
So, like I said, at that young age, most people don't understand what love is. Okay, because this guy dresses nice, he speaks good English, he has swag, nice car. I'm in love.
Yeah.
Whatever. Right. So, but that's aside from her. So, based on him, I would like to understand. Does he have a plan?
So you will sit down with him?
I
or
will
you
sit down with him.
her?
Yes.
But she's your family member, not him.
Of course. Go and bring your boyfriend.
Okay.
Go and bring your boyfriend. Let me sit him down. Let me talk. Let's have a chat. We can go shoot basketball or whatever. So let's just talk. What's your plan? Because I have to gauge and have an understanding of what this guy is planning on doing. Not only that, at the age of 22, we also have to think that how do we expect someone to have a view on life at the age of 22 when you have no mentor, when you have no father figure in your life, when you have no mother figure, you have nobody guiding you. So we need to understand the reason. I'm going.
They have you,
right? So that's right. But I'm saying that we got to understand where the reason behind the guy being that way, behind the guy being a loser, as we term it or as we define it. So that's why I do the due diligence to talk and find out the root cause behind this. Is it just because of he has no future? I mean, he has no plan for the future. That's why he's a loser. So have we had that dialogue? Because it's hard for a young guy to really have future plans and goals, except that you have parents, that you have a proper upbringing that your parents are telling you from, when you are 5, 8 years old, you're going to become a doctor, you're going to become an engineer, your dad is present. I remember when I was in high school, my dad was living in America. I was staying in Nigeria. He would come home, maybe he would come to Nigeria, spend 3 months. When he was there, he would come to my school. Before the class was over, he would be standing there looking at what the teacher was teaching. And when we get home, boy, go and bring your book. Go and write essay. Go and do all that. So for me to be 22 and not have future and not have plans, it was kind of hard. That's why I was saying that.
Yeah, but remember, everybody doesn't come from a structured family. You have some kids that are single mom, raised by single mom, or
and that's what I'm saying. Now you understand my point. So because of that reason, in which you don't know the reason at first. So you just looking at the situation that my niece is telling me this guy has no future. But
all right,
let me read a comment from Facebook real quick. Mr. Odwai on Facebook say, if a guy or girl shows no potential, run.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Yes.
But go ahead, you were saying something.
I don't want us to get too stuck on the age.
Yeah.
Okay. What I want us to get to really think about is, for any guy that's going to come home to meet me as dating my daughter or in something serious, I'm thinking they're already on the path to something really serious, which is marriage. Yeah. And if at that point I see that he has no potential, I'm totally going to be against that marriage. Okay, and I think that's what we're saying. If my niece comes to me and I see there's no potential, I will make sure I sit her down and tell her, listen, it will come to a point. You see, when we talk about love and money, right? Because this is another great topic. Love and money in marriage. It will come to a point where love would never hold.
Yes, sir.
A home where money is, an issue, you will forget about the love.
Quick.
That's why money is the number one cause of divorce.
And which I like the way you switched it, in the sense of, when you come home to me to say you want to marry my daughter or husband, and you guys want to become husband and wife, then that changes.
Okay.
Because now you're thinking about responsibility. So your responsibility cap has to be on. You got to have a goal.
So now let's rephrase. If your niece brings home a man ready to get married who happens to be a loser, I'm going back to your question. What will you say?
I mean, it can be a different conversation then.
It shouldn't
be a different conversation.
It shouldn't be different.
Because we have to give people chance in life.
Absolutely.
We have to give people chance in life. See, I
don't agree.
I know. I know a lot of men.
We don't have to agree. That's the chance. You want to say something? Go ahead.
I agree with giving people a chance, but my own advice, will be for anybody. My niece, my daughter, my friend, whoever is going to get married. If you feel like you've gotten to a point where you want to get married, I will recommend you talk to a financial advisor.
Right.
No, so that way you can address money issues, because that's one of the issues, like he said, that causes divorce and tension in the household. So you want to make sure you have that. You guys talk to an advisor, let them give you whatever they do, because I'm not an expert in that area, but they will tell you some things that you should prepare for and how to manage the finances. Likewise, how the church will recommend talking to a marriage counselor you have to talk to a financial
So
And the
are
reason-
you
and the-
recommending that to everybody who's ready to get married, or people with issues already? Prior issues.
Both. I mean, you can never go wrong. At any point in time when you're sick, you go see a doctor. So if you're already married, and the financial issues come up 20 years down the line, still go talk to a financial
And the reason why I
advisor.
brought that scenario up is because I do a lot of work with young kids, younger people, young adults, like 16 to 25, coaching and stuff like that. And one thing I've noticed is at that age, they don't think about finances. A lot of time is the boy cute? Is she fine? Without even thinking. It's us adults that will be thinking, what does it do?
Absolutely.
We'll be asking all this question. At that age, they don't really think about that.
Yep.
All they know is he's cute, he's got a car, he takes him to the movie, and he dress fly.
My goodness, no,
Let's
I
do
wasn't
it.
thinking that way.
Well, that's not, I'm just
At
saying.
20,
It's
I got married
crazy.
at 21. Yeah, figure out my age.
But
But I was in my 4th year in college.
I
at that
understand,
point.
but everybody are not at the same
We
level.
need to start. Maybe we parents have a lot of work to do.
Exactly.
Yep.
Maybe we need to prepare
A
our
lot of parents are
children.
letting TV
Even, and
and
it's not
social
only
media
about
raise
the
their
men.
kids.
It's not only about the girls now. It's even about the boys. For
Right.
people that have boys.
So I got a question, real
Yes.
quick, not to change topic, but we have to move on because we have a little bit of time left.
Time, right.
So someone is asking, how do you feel? Oh shoot, I just closed it. Okay, I closed it by accident. The question was about people going to Nigeria to get married. Would you advise that financially? Because they think it's a disaster. I wish I didn't close it by accident. But the question about people here going to Nigeria to get married, how does that affect the finance? And what's your advice financially about them doing that or not? I will try to find the question exactly. But it's something like that.
Let me address that real quickly and I'll let you go. For most people that go back home, who are here and go back home to get married, it's usually on the influence of the parents.
Okay.
So if you have your parents who are probably asking that you come back home to get married, be sure to find out if your parents can cover for the balance or whatever you have left. For anyone willing to get married, right? You should have a plan. You should have a financial plan in place. How much is it going to cost us? Bringing me back to what the cost of the wedding. It's important that you don't go above your means. Now, if you're going home to Nigeria to get married, make sure that you let your parents know if this is going to work for you financially or not. Do not get in debt because you have to go to Nigeria.
Can we switch the
before
question
you
a
answer
little?
that, again, we have about 10 minutes left for those you guys watching on Facebook Live. If you want to call in, the number again is 202-681-0389. 202-681-0389. Thank you.
Can
Sorry.
I give you a different twist to that question? So, in a situation where a young lady who lives here, has a good job and everything, meets her husband who lives in Nigeria, and of course it's better for them to start their family here. So they get married in Nigeria and then the guy moves here. What would you advise that kind of couple, because it will take him some time to get his papers and, a good
Before you-
job or decide on what
Before you
career.
answer that, I have
Another
one,
twist.
no, not even a twist. One phrase for that. Patience. But go ahead.
Okay.
What would you advise?
So let me understand the scenario again. So you have couple that
You have a young lady.
Let me
Okay.
explain it to
Okay.
you again. So there's a lady,
uh-huh.
good age, maybe she's 30 or 28, whatever. She has a very good job here. She meets her husband who lives in Nigeria, and then they decided that after the wedding, we're going to move back to America together and start our lives in America. What would you recommend to that couple? Because, obviously, the guy coming over here, he's not going to have a lot of money on him. He's going to be dependent on his wife.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong in that picture. At times in life, we don't have the money, we don't have the wherewithal to support. It's just a temporary situation. So if you can support the guy at the moment, get him to America, get him off his feet, get him a job somewhere, he starts to work, he starts to network with people that might show him the ropes and how to move here and there. And then eventually he will get his own better job, start pursuing his own passion and purpose, and he will be able to take care of the family.
So do you think the guy should start from the bottom and work his way to the top?
When you say from the bottom, what does that mean?
So maybe take a job at some random, maybe like a
Like Walmart,
card,
like
Walmart,
Of
you know,
course,
something.
of course. You
Instead
have
of just
Walmart
sitting
pay.
at home and waiting to take that big exam that will get him the six-figure job.
Absolutely. You
Okay.
gotta get in the trenches. Gotta do the work. You gotta support your family.
Yep.
Anything that you got to do, you can't be lazy. You can't just say I want to stay at home and be studying all day and be expecting one big job to come or some kind of miracle. Sometimes you gotta prepare.
That's why you have to really shine your eyes.
And
You have
this
to
is,
know who you're getting into.
Obajolu,
Yes,
somebody's
sir.
asking you to define what is the definition of a loser to Seun?
I'm sure you didn't that question.
The same question I asked.
I got it. You want to address it?
You sure you?
Sure, go ahead.
A loser will not have any goals, aspirations, or plans for the future. You say, maybe I'm using the loser word carelessly.
And they also ask, what are you looking for in a man? Not necessarily you because you're married, but what should a young lady look for in a man?
I need for a young woman to look for in a man who has what it takes to protect his family. And you know, it's we talk about money all the time. But you see, a man that has it in him, that knows what it is to be a man, knows that I have to protect my family, will do whatever it takes. And that means financially, emotionally, you know, making sure my wife is okay. Listen, I can go on about money all day. What if my husband is at a point where he's financially not capable? If once I know that he's not lazy, he's willing to, when he's had it, he's done it, and he's protected me, I will step in. But I cannot be with a man who, okay, first of all, you met him in Nigeria, right? What is he doing in Nigeria? What has he been doing in Nigeria? Yeah, he's been sitting at home, walking around. He had a chance to go to school. He didn't do it. And then you say, oh, you want to fix him? I'm telling you, you're in for big trouble.
Yeah, you can't fix anybody.
Even if you bring him to America and tell him there's some men who they brought from Nigeria to America who have not amounted to anything.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything with their lives.
Okay.
So, yeah, loser,
Sorry.
no
So-
plans.
What about a guy who experiences midlife crisis? Maybe like at 45, they feel like, well, I don't want to
Nice.
work again. You know, I just want to just enjoy myself.
You cannot have that. You have, as
No,
long
you
as
can
you
have
know.
it now.
You're already
You're
married.
married.
He's been doing everything
Feel free to
perfectly.
pitch
Yeah,
in.
let's
He's
put
You're
been
him
married,
doing everything
he's 45,
perfectly,
he's 50.
and then at 45 or 50, he just switches and he's like, "Well, I just want to do me right now."
So, what's the negative impact to that? Bills are not being paid.
Yes.
Yeah, everything
Okay.
is on you now because
We
you
have
have
a
kids
caller.
that you need to take care of.
Let's take that.
Caller.
Welcome to Afrobeat Live. I'm sorry.
You're on the air.
You're on the air. What's your name and where you calling from? I'm getting a lot of questions.
I'm calling from Elk Creek, Maryland.
Okay.
Hello, crew, Taiye and the crew, and everybody. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are doing a very great job. I just wanted to comment about the loser thing or name calling. I think we should refrain a little bit away from name calling or trying to label people.
Okay.
Because the same people that you guys are trying to help, that's what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much
Thank
for
you for
calling in.
calling.
Okay, so
Alright.
going back to my question, for someone who's experiencing midlife crisis, what would you say to somebody like that? I mean,
Well-
to the couple.
There has to be a dialogue, okay? Yes, you've done your part. You've done a lot, you know, and I can understand. But if you say ends up now, what's gonna be the result of your children, of us? How are we gonna take care of the bills, the lifestyle that I want to live, take vacation? All the expenses can be on one person because the one person is probably not making enough money. And if the one person is making enough money, don't you want to have slush funds? Don't you want to have extra funds? Don't you want to have money for investment? So, you know, I don't think it's a typical situation. It can happen. Like,
It happens more
it
often
can
than
happen,
you know.
but it's not a typical that a man would just be at 45, like like I'm just gonna let this woman run the show. I mean, it's like, where is the love?
Some
Where
women
is
just
the
walk out on their
understanding?
marriages. It happens a lot.
Right. I mean, if you are saying that's different, you know, because walking out there has to probably be a reason why the person is walking out. That tells me something different. Versus a man that everything is going well. I'm reading your situation that everything is going well. I love you. I care about you. I just don't want to be paying bills anymore. That's what I'm saying. Unless there's some other situation.
It actually happens.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I'm saying
what
it's
is
not.
There's more to it. It's not just a typical thing.
No, and I get where you're coming from.
People may be seeing it from the outside like he just walked away, but what he's saying, I kind of agree with him because there's always a reason.
No. What Fadeke is saying, and it's important that we address this.
Oh, jeez, we're getting like Mac off. I want you to address that.
Yes, it's important that we address this. If your husband ever comes and it seems like he's frustrated, it's mostly frustration. And of course for men, okay? Men, we have the ego thing.
Thanks for calling. Hold on 1 second. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Leke.
Okay.
Good evening. You're on the air.
I'm sorry. I should give you the phone. Yeah, how can we help you, Leke? You have a question for us?
Yes. Is it possible for me to go back to that question you guys asked about a girl going to Nigeria to marry and bringing someone here?
Yeah, what's your question?
Go ahead.
Go back to that.
Yeah.
Yes. My question is this.
Pretty close to
If
you.
she wants to get married to the guy, why didn't she do, why didn't she find out about the guy, what he could do when he gets here? Because, bringing here from Nigeria to leave and fend for the family, I don't think it is something easy to do if the guy does not have a clear path as to how he wants to live his life once he gets here. You don't learn how to swim after jumping into the ocean. You must have known how to swim even before attempting to jump into the ocean.
Amen to that.
That sounds more like an advice than a question.
Amen.
So the guy is saying, Mr. Leke is saying that before the guy comes to America,
Yeah. Mr. Leke, thank you very much.
Thank you for calling.
he needs to have a plan, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
No,
basically
so
what
why
it's
don't
He's
she
saying that
ask-
she should have asked him
what's his plan?
what's your plan. And the thing, I don't want to delve too much into anybody's business or anything, but hypothetically speaking, what if you've talked to the person and they tell you, oh, this is what I want to do when I get to America, this is what I know best, and then they get here, they tried the exam to get into that field or
Right.
whatever, and they're not passing it or something, it's just not panning out. That's where I'm coming from. Like, what do you
So-
do in that situation?
Calls are calling
Calls
in.
are coming
Let's
in
wrap
like
up that
crazy.
question real quick. You're on the air.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
Hold
Good evening. Thank you for calling in. You're on the air. How can we help?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What is your name, please, and where are you calling from?
My name is Ashiru-Balogun. I'm calling from Maryland.
Hi. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm good.
Good. Can you go ahead with your question?
Yeah, actually, I don't have a question. I just have a contribution.
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my contribution is, sometimes in life, you don't know where you can find love. And it might be north, south, east, or west. But the question is, are you compatible? Are you able to work things together? Like, for example, people coming from the diaspora or from Africa coming to America where, okay, this is what I used to do back home. I come here and things are not easy as well, blah, 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 like that. And if you have a companion who can understand and you both walk it through, I think it should be, easy for everybody. We all live happy ever after.
Okay. Okay. So I get your point. They should just work it out regardless of what's going on. And thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. I think she has something else. Just to wrap up because time is going. I know people are enjoying it, but we can talk about this all night.
That's why it's
Answer that
serious.
question.
Yeah.
We're going to come back again.
So we have to go to the next series. I know you have some things you want to touch on, but before we go, the last question that I have is: these days, wedding, it's a big business, and wedding is also a big competition. Like when I get married, I want wedding to be the best. I want it to be featured on. I
I'm
don't
so
even know
happy I got married like 3 years ago.
Yeah, so it's a big competition. I must have the best DJ. DJ Femster's got to be at my wedding. MC Walowan's got to be my MC. You know, you got to be five events to plan it. To be my marriage advisor. Combine, have everybody on the table. But all those things cost money. The average budget for a wedding, I think I saw it somewhere in one of the magazines a couple months ago. Right now in America is about $45,000 to $55,000. So you have two young people. Normally, when people get married in their mid-20s to mid-30s, average, you know, around that age. Now you're going into debt. You're starting a family with
debt.
$50,000 in debt because of marriage. Now you have the husband that says, wow, that's too much. You have the wife that's like, no, my dress has to be, I have to have that red bottom shoe, I have to have
and the mother-in-law that is telling you, like, you have to do it, it has to be big because my friends will be there.
Hampton Hall is not big enough. We have to go to Camelot, or we have to go to MGM Bread, you know, and you have to hire SM Productions to capture the night and capture the video. What's your advice for people with this new wedding thing that's going on? I mean, I don't know if my question is correct. It's good. Anybody, it's
well, one thing I can say is, and I want you to take this away from here. The amount of money you spend on your marriage, on your wedding ceremony, will not determine how long or how tight your marriage is going to be. So if you can go in that with that wisdom, it's very important. I did not, and I always try to use myself because I know about me. All I had 16 years ago was just a registry wedding. It was not because we didn't want to. My dad died at the time, and it just, we were like, oh, we'll do it in 10 years. We'll do it in 5 years. We haven't had one. And there's been marriages where you spent like millions of naira or dollars, whatever, and it doesn't last a month. So it's very, very important to have a budget. Don't go overboard. I don't get excited when I see weddings. I'm one of those people. I'm sorry, I really don't get excited. If you like spend whatever money, I don't get excited. What I'm excited about is let me see how well you guys handle that marriage in the first year. Then come back to me and I can watch your wedding video. So be smart, be wise, receive sense.
Absolutely, and receive sense. I like that. It's very prudent to have a budget for your wedding day. Now, I'm a person that I like people to have fun. I don't like to hold my partner from what she wants.
That's me.
You know,
let's ball. It's a short life.
Because when you look at women, typically from maybe the age of 3, 4, 5 years old, they've been playing with Barbie. They've been looking at Cinderella. Even watching videos. All right, I want to have an elegant wedding. You have your friends around you. So you want to spend, and at the same time, this is your only wedding, quote unquote. By God's grace, exactly. So as a man, I would like to support, my wife. If you want to have a big wedding, the question is, do we have the money? Because me as a person, I'm not gonna go to the bank and borrow money and get a loan for a wedding.
Makes no sense.
So that's why you and I, we have to plan years in advance. If you say you want $40,000 wedding, $50K wedding, can we plan next 4 years that, okay, we can have $40K, $50K? If we can do that, then can you wait? So that we can be able to achieve your dream. I want you to have your dream, but I don't have 40, 50K in cash. And it does not make any sense to go borrow money on something that I'm just going to spend in 1 day or 2 days, and that's it.
But what if she says, oh, but you have it in your savings, let's spend it, we'll put it back?
Okay, so my question is, that money, what's the plan for the money at first, before the wedding thing comes in, right? If the plan for the money is maybe to pay for down payment for a house, I'll probably say, babe, do I want to be living in an apartment after a wedding? I don't want to.
But your wife-to-be and your mother-in-law is telling you
there's so much pressure from them to have a big wedding.
Right. I understand. But that's where I put my foot down and said, this money is for a house. It's not for the wedding. We can take $10,000, $5,000 from you. I'm not going to take the entire money on it. So if you want the wedding to happen, how about we have a plan whereby we can save up for that 40K or 50K for that wedding. So it's about understanding, planning together, having patience. Like, it's a win-win situation. Okay. But can we come into the in the middle? So I'm gonna give 40K, but this money is for
couple, single people, or whatever, engaged, about marriage and money that we didn't touch. You can wrap up in 2 minutes.
Well, just before I go ahead, I would like to apologize on behalf of everybody for the use of the word loser, but I would like you guys not to really take it out of the context. It was a question that was asked, and it was not meant to actually offend anyone. So please accept our sincere apologies if you actually touched anyone wrongly or negatively. Now, married couples, singles, before you go ahead to get married, it is very, very important that you have that dialogue about your financial future. Absolutely. Very important. Lay all the cards out on the table. If you're in this country, America, ask what the person's credit looks like. Ask what their financial, do they have any debts right now? Lay it all on the table and have no secrets, because eventually it will come out. Mm-hmm. So please have that dialogue. Thank you.
Mr. GFEM.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that. Have no secrets. Mm-hmm. Your husband can be paying all the bills. Don't be using your money to build a house back at home and he doesn't know anything about it. Okay?
It's a gift.
So plan together. Be open, share information, have plans. I always say 2 heads just better than one. Okay, so if you can work. If you cannot work, if you be a stay-home mom or be a stay-home dad, make sure you are doing something at home. Amen. Have some kind of business online. Okay, so that would be my piece of advice to couples or yet to be couples.
While you have the mic, how can they reach you? Your social media, your website, your book,
Sure. So I have a book called Revelations of Relationship, What You Don't Know About Finding True Love and Sustaining Relationship. It's available on Barnes & Noble's paperback or ebook copy. I can also give you a free PDF copy as well. Just send a request to gfemradio@gmail.com, gfemradio@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram at GFEM Speaks, Facebook at GFEM Speaks, that speaks with an S, and Twitter at GFEM Radio. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, I am on Facebook as Seun Obajolu. My name, Instagram, Twitter, Seun Obajolu. I also have a weekly live broadcast that I do. Yes. I touch on sensitive marriage topics, and I come to you as real as it gets. I don't miss any words, so please join me Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you very much.
All right. My name is Taiye Akinmboni. Thank you for tuning into Afrobeat Live. You can reach us on Facebook at Afrobeat Live, Instagram, Twitter. Instagram is Afrobeat Live, Twitter is Afrobeat Live 1. We have a special show for you tomorrow.
Coming up tomorrow.
Are you tired of what's going on in America? You want to know what's going on? Hear from a comedian's point of view. Mr. Jetty. Yes, y'all know him. Jetty will be here live tomorrow at 8 p.m. Tune in. And once again, from all of us, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Good night. Thank you.